So it used to be the case for me that whenever I would have a bad day, it would turn into several bad days and even several bad weeks. And it was that feeling, I don't know if you've ever had it, where it was you're kind of demotivated, you struggle to kind of get out of bed, maybe you check social media too much, but you drag yourself up and you just kind of struggle to do anything throughout the day. Any of your positive habits or your rituals, anything that you've built up, just seem a million miles away. And it used to be a case that one bad day like that would turn into several bad weeks for me. And it's very, very different story for me these days. So within this video, I really want to share with you what I do. Like yesterday, I had a bad day, and I want to share with you what I do to counteract those bad days. So like I said on the introduction, yesterday was a bad day. I woke up feeling demotivated. I woke up and I checked too much social. I didn't really want to get out of bed, and I dragged myself out and I had a shower, and I just kind of felt demotivated, unmotivated all day, and leaned in far too much to some of my old addictions around. I particularly yesterday morning, I've got some areas that I want to learn around kind of funnels and traffic generation. And so I put on some YouTube videos and started searching around. And ultimately, yes, I could convince myself, and that's exactly what I did. I convinced myself that these videos were aligned with the stuff that I was learning, stuff that I was wanting to learn. So even though I was feeling bad, I was still kind of entering growth mode. Ultimately, it wasn't. It was a mask. It was a cover-up. It was an addiction, because I wanted to feel the dopamine. I wanted to feel good that I was moving forward without actually doing any of the work. And that was what I went to. Within this video, I want to share two quick stories that have really helped. The first is of my friend Nessa. Now, Nessa I know actually from my previous business, and she lost over £120 over 2 years. It was a lot to lose. And I interviewed her for an old podcast I did on HR and leadership. And she was talking about how she was effectively on a diet ever since she was 16 years old, or she felt like she was, and none of it ever kind of really worked. And the big thing that made a difference between being 16 and all the years previously to, losing 120 pounds in her 40s is self-love. It's self-love. You see, what used to happen was that whenever she would kind of get a craving, sometimes she could resist, sometimes she didn't. And whenever she broke into a craving and had like a chocolate bar or whatever, a takeaway maybe, she would then punish herself. She would feel bad, she would feel guilty, and this is why fat shaming doesn't work, by the way, guys. She felt guilty, she felt shameful, she blamed herself, and then subsequently she'd be like, well, the day is ruined, day's destroyed, I might as well just eat whatever I want, and then she'd start again the next day. But so much of that positive work was undone by the negative mindset, the blame, the shame, the guilt. And ultimately it was self-love that made the difference. So then when she did break, she didn't punish herself. She didn't move into negative habits. She was just like, oh, okay. So that's just happened. That's okay. That's okay. It's okay that happened. We don't have to continue that process. We could just carry on. And so then she didn't spiral into a load of other negative habits and then start fresh the day after. It was just a blip along the radar. Can you see the connection? And another story that I want to talk about, which really defines this kind of idea of resistance, is what I'm trying to say, is a conversation I had with Rich Ayling, who's a coach that does Wim Hof training. So like that cold water stuff. So if you've seen Wim Hof, you'll know what I'm talking about. This absolute incredible guy who just like immerses himself with ice cold water like all of the time and all the health benefits. And my friend Rich is a coach helping people embrace that idea. And he talks about how like so often when he's got like new groups, you've got people that want to go first. They want to get in the cold water and brave it. And it's often kind of men, right, wanting to kind of act and show toughness. So they'll dive into the water and they'll grit their teeth and power through, getting to like a minute in this freezing cold water. And oddly enough, that works counterintuitively for that process, because to actually sustain yourself within that cold water, you need to actually calm your system, not heighten it up through tension and hyper breathing, because that breathing will then kind of activate like all of the wrong things within your body that will elevate your heart rate and all those types of things. You actually want to calm yourself. So you train a particular breathing technique to be able to manage the cold water. And often it would be the people then that would come in afterwards that would be able to settle and breathe normally through that process and calmly. They'd be able to sustain the cold water much better and for much longer. I wonder if you can tell where I'm going here. You see, one thing that I've learned is when I'm having a bad day, it's critical that I don't punish myself. And it's critical that I don't try and grit my teeth and power through the day. Because all of that leads is to punishing yourself. And when we punish ourselves, we start to engage in more negative and destructive behaviors. But before the behaviors comes the mindset of shame, of guilt, of frustration, of fear, of pain. And ultimately, it's all fear. Kyle Cease said that, well, actually, tons of people have said this, but I really like the way that Kyle Cease said it. Tony Robbins has also said it, that what we resist persists. And it's often not the thing itself, in this case, having a bad day. It's our judgment of the thing. So if we start to judge the fact that we're having a bad day, and we start to say that shouldn't happen, I need to power through, I need to grit my teeth and get on through, or that shouldn't happen, oh, I'm so rubbish at this, why can't I be like all of these other people? We start to judge the experience of the day and judge ourselves. And that's what starts the spiral of negativity that can turn a bad day into several bad days or several bad weeks, as per my old pattern, because it increases stress. And it's very dangerous. For me personally, that led to a lot of kind of like bouts of depression that would just lead to demotivation and just doing nothing for weeks on end. Now when I have a bad day, I let it be a bad day. And I'm working towards, the more that I'm kind of learning about this stuff, the bad days themselves. So first of all, the bad weeks turned into several bad days. The several bad days has turned into a bad day. Sometimes a bad day is just a few bad hours, and the space between the bad days is increasing, so they are less and less frequent over time. And the key is to not judge the bad day as something bad. You could call it you can rephrase it, you can name it something different. It could be a day where you do different things. You take yourself away, maybe a thinking day, a learning day. Maybe it's a day that you unpack a bunch of drawers that have got cluttered or something like that. But you take yourself away. You don't judge yourself for having that bad day. You find a way to get some stuff done, or maybe not. Maybe you spend the entire day just reading. That's not a bad thing. Especially if you've got some epic books, like I haven't got it here, but I'm currently reading Jim Quick's book, which is absolutely amazing, or Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. There are tons of books, so if you just, like, Imagine if you spent a whole day and read an entire book in a day. Wow. And that's what can happen when you don't judge the bad day for being bad. You let it exist. You let it be. And what that does is it gives you yourself room to work through that negativity. That doesn't mean you don't do any positive habits. I certainly recommend random smiling or laughing. But it's amazing how much you allow to come into your life when you don't judge the thing for existing, because it will stick with you if you judge it and you resist it for being there. So let it be there. It's okay. It'll pass. Tomorrow is always a new day. That's what I do. Getting better. I hope this helps. I'll see you tomorrow for something completely different.